welcome to the Foodeshow Community Talks. Today we have Eugene Wang, CEO, co-founder of Sophie's Bionutrients. Hello, Eugene, how are you?
Hello, hi, good. I'm very good. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much for accepting our invitation. We would like to know more about you and know your story. I understand that you are very committed in plant-based diet in general, and that is because of your upbringing. So can you more elaborate on that?
Sure. So long story short, I was born and grew up in a family where we are 4th-generation Buddhism already, and 3rd-generation making vegetarian food, or a lot of people here in Asia, they call it mock meat, sold in Chinatown, starting from my grandma and grandpa, they make these vegetarian food as street vendors in Taiwan. And then my father, who is the real food scientist, he set up a factory for the family business. And so to me, ever since I remember I was born, all my auntie, my uncles, even my grandpa, they're all vegetarians, except my parents for some odd reasons. They told me they hate the politics in the religious group, but then again, they are still committed to making a lot of plant meat for a lot of people to consume. So that's how, you can say that I spent almost my whole career in this plant meat industry.
I understand that you have launched different projects before you got to Sophie's Bionutrients. You had Sophie's Kitchen. So right. What was Sophie's Kitchen about?
So it was started out, so my family, they were doing business in Taiwan. And I felt that the impact is not really enough for me, it's a small island and there's only 23 million people. And although we have 15% of population who are vegetarian, but then again, we're talking about the world. I wanna see the world. I wanna help the world, and do something in the world market, so to speak. But I couldn't have a good, wonderful idea. But about 14 years ago, I found out my daughter Sophie is allergic to shellfish. So I was nimble some shrimp with some Japanese yam for her to play with when I was hosting friends. And then one day, this friend of mine coming over from New York saw me doing that. He said to me, "Hey, Eugene, you always want to find something to do in the US, right?" I said, "Yeah, this could be your $64 million idea. Start a plant-based seafood company." Or should I say, back then we called it vegan seafood, because plant-based back in, this was in year 2008, plant-based was not the kind of trendy words that we used. So in 2010, I started the first vegan seafood company in the world out of Sebastopol, California, with a friend of mine there. And we started to sell plant-based seafood. So that's why, because the inspiration was coming from my daughter, so our company back then was named Sophie's Kitchen. So while I was selling Sophie's Kitchen plant-based seafood products, I got a lot of consumers asking, so now you're selling plant-based seafood. Do these products have equivalent nutritional value like the real seafood? Well, short answer is no, because we're using potato starch, we're using pea protein, we're using Japanese yam. All these are land plants, not aquatic or ocean plants. So how can it be? So that got me thinking. So back in 2013, 14, I started to look for a new way to make our plant-based seafood. And that got me into this microalgae research. Because why? I thought, well, fishes and shrimp, they all ate microalgae to get their nutrients. So why do you have to eat the animal in order to get that nutrient when you can actually eat microalgae directly? So that's how I embarked on this research. And I was lucky enough that I was invited to Singapore back in 2017 to pitch. And out of no reason, out of the blue, I got a lot of grand prizes in a lot of competitions. And all of a sudden, I have $1 million here in Singapore to carry on this research. And that's why last year we decided to split the company. And here in Singapore, we have a new name called Sophie's Bionutrients, and we started to focus on the food tech, B2B sales, researching into using microalgae to make all kinds of nutrients for human consumption that can be very sustainable and also very resource efficient. And that's our goal for the future.
That is great. So people want to know what's your background, because you're doing very technical, very advanced. Yeah. But
Thank you.
I just want to show, and I know what's your background, Eugene, or
right.
all want to know that.
Yeah, sure. You know, a lot of people ask me this, especially after they listen to me about the technology, how I grow algae. I've been studying a lot about marine science and microalgae with my mentor, Professor Charles Green from Cornell University. I guess the only thing I should do, but I didn't do, is writing a thesis essay for or whatever project for my PhD program. But I didn't. You know, I keep running my business. I so focusing on business. So what happened is that I actually my undergrad degree is actually a math degree. Mathematics. Originally, I want to become a computer programmer. And then after I graduated from college, I saw my father doing the family business. I thought, I want to become a business owner as well. So I went to Columbia University. I got my MBA degree from there. But, you know, after I graduated from MBA program, I did management consulting for about less than half a year. I can't stand it. I still feel like I wanna do something having to do something with foods, because I guess mostly because my family business, you know. So then I came back to my family after I finished that half year of management consulting career, and then started my career pretty much in plant-based foods for the rest of my life. You know, so that's sort of my background. And you know, one thing I really want to comment on is that, you know, a lot of time people were thinking, you know, so if you're developing food science, then the best thing for you to do is that you have a food science degree. Well, actually, you know, from my experience, I think not. Because why? The so-called experts today are like this. You know, they dive really deep into a subject, so deep that they almost put a blind next to their eyes, and they see nothing else. We entrepreneurs are more like this, maybe somewhat like this, you know. We are the one connecting all the dots, you know. So you need entrepreneurs like us to connect all the latest, the fanciest, the newest ideas all together. Because quite honestly, a lot of technology developed today is not just about one field or one science. It is always cross multiple fronts, multiple industry, to make something really revolutionary, really new happen. And that's why the startup is catching on like fire. And when the multinationals is struggling to beat the startup in this innovation game, because quite honestly, a lot of this big company, they're tied up with their corporate structure, with their legal department. You cannot do this, you cannot screw up that. And so that's why the innovation within big company is really stifling, especially after the technology today has been sped up by, especially by the cell phone, you know, the social media. A lot of these new technology really help speed up the innovation process. And that's why I think, you know, the world today needs a lot of entrepreneurs like us. And I apologize for that very long answer to your short question.
No, I love your answer, Eugene. I think entrepreneurs are the bridge between a lot of things, because that's
right.
They have the energy and the drive to put together a project and see their dreams come true. Because if we didn't have entrepreneurs, we will have a lot of papers and no one to read them and put them in place. And thank you so much because I just wanted to bring the background. Entrepreneurs go out of passion, do things passionately, and they are on a mission. And that's a little bit different. And also, they are inspiring figures that can actually assemble a team to see their
That's right.
dreams come true. Yeah,
That's right.
and thank you for bringing that up. So I know that you have done. You've created Sophie's bionutrient nutrition out of need, out of a purpose, and but you serve in also a sustainable goal. Like you said, when you started in 2010, it was vegan seafood,
Right.
and now it's
Right.
everybody's talking about plant-based. So how do you
Right.
see the future, and actually what your product will substitute, and how it could help in the food industry in general?
Right. So yeah, that's a very good question for me to let the audience know is that the future. I think a lot of people possibly don't even think about what is the future of our food system because why they enjoy their food now, they don't see any problem, so to speak, or they just don't care. But for professionals like us, we saw a lot of problems in the not so distant future. Why? Just look at the deforestation. In one of my presentation, actually, this is also originally from a BBC program. This is from University of Maryland. One of the professors there, he did a research using the Landsat satellite. And we actually saw the amount of deforestation in the last 50 years. It's just so dramatic, so pathetic. You look at that chart, you wonder, wow, no wonder the global warming is real. And why do we have to chop up all those forests? You look at the location, you're pretty sure it's not because of the population. It's not because the urbanization, meaning that we're not chopping down those forests for buildings, for cities. No, we're chopping down those forests to grow our foods. And imagine if this keep going on, the world population is projected to increase 30% by 2050. And they were saying that you need about 100% or more of foods to support this extra 30% because more people will become more affluent, have more disposable income, so they will consume more. And it's just an unpreventable habit that there will also be more foods to be wasted. What is our future? Are we going to have one or two more planet Earth to house all these people and foods? No way. So that's why some entrepreneurs like me and my team, we're developing a new technology. So here is what we envision in the future. So in the future, if you imagine a triangle, a pyramid, on the very top, maybe just about, I would say 1 or 2%, is the so-called animal protein. This is possibly a very longer term future. Maybe in my grandson's generation, or possibly even happen sooner, which will be my daughter's generation, is that the animal protein will not go away. That's my belief. I believe they're stay here. They're here to stay, but they will become very premium on the very top of the pyramid. Followed by that will be the plant protein, all the plants, or should I say maybe just plants, because plant provided not just protein. So followed by the animal will be the plant. And what's next, in my personal belief, will be the cell-based, the culture meat industry. Why? Because you look at it, today the technology is really far-fetched. A lot of people were saying that they're never going to be successful, but I believe they will, because there's so many talents in that space, and there's so much money, and I'm hoping that they will be successful. If they're successful, they will be in the middle of the pyramid, providing a lot of the animal protein ethically and sustainably to the world. And follow on the bottom of the pyramid will be us. A lot of the single cell protein, meaning protein or whatever nutrients, carbohydrate, or even oil, cooking oil, from these microorganisms like yeast, fungi, or bacteria, or like in our case, microalgae, will be at the bottom of the pyramid. That's the kind of food pyramid that we envision in the future. And from this pyramid, you can see that in the not so distant future, about more than 50%, or should I say possibly even 70-80% of the foods will be grown in a bioreactor. Things like a fermentation tank. You can grow animal protein out of it, or whatever animal thing using these culture technology out of it, or you can grow a lot of the single cell protein, single cell nutrients out of the fermentation tank, like what we are doing now here in the Singapore facility. And that really is the future that we believe in. And we think if we can achieve that goal, you don't need a lot of space. You don't need a lot of energy or water, because why? The bioreactor is just a tank, and it's so condensed. Contamination can be controlled. You don't need any of the herbicides, fertilizer, antibiotic, or growth hormone. And because it's in the tank, resources, energy, water can also be reduced dramatically. And that really is the way that we can support 10 billion people by 2050 without using up our natural resources.
Oh, I will add to that also the cost of logistics, because
Right.
as you know, there's so much energy that is spent and time that is spent from shipping the product from one place to the other. And
Absolutely.
that is a big invoice, like you like to say. It's logistics. Sometimes it's more expensive than the cost of the goods. And that is something that we have to look at as well. You think that the ecosystem is ready for this much innovation? Because obviously a lot of companies will not be needed. Let's just say a lot of companies will not be needed in the near future, because we've seen that farming has changed. Now we're talking about urban farming. Everybody's trying to solve a problem. So now everybody is going to be producing whatever they need in their location. How do you see economically the world? This is from an entrepreneur standpoint.
Right. Actually, you know what? I think differently. I don't think we're here to remove anyone. And no one can be removed either. Why? Even though the plant-based meat, the interest in plant-based meat is growing in the world, especially in the Western market. But you look at the animal protein, animal meat, it is also growing. Odd enough. The only thing that's not growing, especially in the US, is just the dairy, for some odd reason, But other than the dairy, actually all the meat, animal meat, are still growing. So what I envision in the future is that if we don't do anything, there is going to be a huge growth in demand of all kinds of foods. And the animal industry and the traditional agriculture will have a huge problem to fulfill those demands. And that's what the culture meat or the single cell protein is here to help, is that we are just here to help fulfill the new demand. We're not here to replace anyone, in my opinion. And on top of that, I think by doing so, you will let a lot more people to have more jobs, so to speak. Because obviously, just like you said, our bioreactors can be set up in the big cities, contrary to the conventional food growing system, or animal farming and agriculture. We can be very close to the cities, so that we can help the city dwellers to find some jobs, and we cut down the logistic. By doing so, the next pandemic or next natural disaster hit, you at least have some backup solutions for foods. So I think we can kind of coexist peacefully, because the market will grow so big, especially considering the fact that all the people around the world are just eating more and more. This is not healthy, I know, but that's just the fact. That's also why obesity rate among the world is growing, no matter east or west or developing or non-developing countries. It's a bad habit, but it's just the fact that's going on in the world. So
true. I understand you're on a mission to, let's say, replacement for two major products. That is soy meal, soy protein, let's say, for instance, and ultimately palm oil. How do you intend to do that, and why is it the first two that you are targeting?
So our microalgae, should I say, is actually considered to be a plant. Recent fossil record actually confirmed that microalgae is the mother of all plants. And we all know that there is plant first before there is animal, right? So you can also say microalgae is the mother of almost everything, And by that definition, for a lot of people, naturally, that they will compare us to another plant protein. And look at the biggest and the most major plant protein that's used in the world today is definitely soy. And actually, soy does create a lot of problems for our environment today, in my personal opinion. Like we discussed, Brazil has chopped down a lot of trees to grow their soys to export to China for animal feed or human foods. If we keep doing this, we're gonna have problems, like I mentioned. And I'm not trying to eliminate the soy industry, no, but I just foresee that the future growth of demand of soy is not gonna be able to be fulfilled by these soy industry players today. And that's why we want to come up with a protein, because using our technology, we're very confident that we can lower the production cost that can be equivalent to the soy protein today. And on top of that, we are actually trying to make our microalgae protein functionally compatible to and come equivalent to the soy protein today. And so if we successful in doing that, you can use it in a lot of different industry and trying to replace the soy protein you use and try to use our microalgae protein. Let me give you one example. In our pilot production right now, we are able to successfully develop a protein flour that you can use it to make plant milk, and it emulsifies and form perfectly. And because we're growing the algae in the fermentation tank, so it doesn't look green at all. So it looks actually very mild. So for consumers, that's actually very, very easy to change. So that's one of the things that we're thinking. The other thing we're thinking, like you mentioned, is palm oil. Is that, don't forget, microalgae, some of the strains of the microalgae has wonderful lipid fat. So we're not working on protein, but in the future, in the near future, we want to work on cooking oil as well. So the hope is that since our technology is so sustainable and so cost efficient, we should be able to develop a cooking oil that is also nutritious enough that can replace the palm oil by its price, and also replace it for its functionality. And that's the two things that we think we want to tackle to help solve the sustainability issues we have in the food system today.
That is great, Eugene. I just want to remind everybody that Eugene is available with his team on the e-booth, Sophie's Bionutrient, at the Foodeshow platform. You can connect with them, see the product photo, and also ask them and how you can use their products in your food industry and how you can replace, because be aware there's a lot of consumer change. And behavior is changing, and plant-based is taken, in general, is taken a lot more importance, as well as veganism. And this is where you can tackle both of them. Eugene, if you have to give one advice to the community, what would it be?
If I have to give just one advice, because quite honestly, I want to give a lot of advice.
Let's do
But
two.
I think the should I say that when it comes to innovation, the most important thing for people is that they are afraid. They are afraid of change. They are afraid of should I say afraid of the expectations. They are afraid of being look at it. If you use this new thing, they are afraid that you look odd, weirdly. So I think in order for us to move forward in this world sustainably, we really have to embrace innovation. And I guess I'm saying this more to the investment community today, because I mean the investment community, they have a lot of scare, they have a lot of fear, and I can understand that they have their stakeholders to report to. But then again, without the investment community's help, a lot of new ideas cannot be started, and the world is actually have been changed dramatically, especially in the last 2 decades. Part of it thanks to the technology, part of it thanks to the global warming, and really time is very short, if not running out. And we do need people to be able to be more open to all kinds of new ideas. I think Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods had done this very successfully, but they are special. They're in the States, and we haven't seen that same success happening in other parts of the world. And I'm hoping that the community, the investment community, especially throughout the world, will have this more open-minded attitude, like a lot of the investment communities in the U.S. that embracing the new ideas instead of fearing the failure of the new ideas. Because why? The new idea is not just gonna help you make money. It actually really helps the world, a lot of the new ideas. And I think if you can be an investment professional, you should be smart enough to see what's totally wrong. And if you're thinking something that's just a little bit wrong, that's possibly your ignorance or something you don't understand. And I really encourage the audience, the community, try to embrace all kinds of new ideas, new innovation to help us get to a better future.
Thank you so much, Eugene, and thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here.
Welcome.
And I said, I love your energy and I love your willingness to try new things and do new things, and it is something that I really appreciate. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Dan. Actually, I also appreciate it. Looking forward to more chats in the future. Like I said, I can do a 7-day workshop on the plant meat industry. So feel free in the future, if any opportunity, let me know. Thank you.
We'll take you out for that. Don't worry.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks a lot. All right.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.